Hey everybody, it's Book of Katherine. I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to do a little update on my physical therapy and occupational therapy. So this is like weeks 2 and 3. I've already done week 1 and I'll try and link it up here. So this is weeks 2 and 3. I've a lot has happened. A lot has changed. So in week 1, I showed you how I was pointing my feet because of a turnout issue. I had my feet really turned in, and they call it like a rotator thing or something where my legs are turned in, and that can really cause falls. Make it really dangerous when I was actually up and moving. So I'd walk, but my legs would be turned in. And so when I would walk, and I'll show you this. Well, hello, Lila. Someone wants to be in. So when I'd walk, my legs would rotate in. And if you see that, when I take a step, I just roll on through. It was very easy. And the problem is when I'd walk, I would walk along and then all of a sudden my leg would all of a sudden turn in and I wouldn't be ready for that. And it would just turn in and that would cause fall. Sometimes I'd even be standing, like I'd just be standing up. And then all of a sudden my leg would rotate in on me and just start to roll. And so it's really important that I start to get a turnout. Now this used to send me, if my feet were on the outside like this, if my feet were actually turned out, and this is what's called a turnout. Some of my physical therapists didn't know that this is called a turnout. So in ballet and in dancing, this kind of foot position is called a turnout. And I talked about this in dancing. This kind of position is really important. If you want to do it with your partners or whatever, or if you want to do it in physical therapy, if you put your feet together like this and someone tilts you over, it's really easy to see. I almost fell over just now. But if you put your feet in third position, which automatically puts them in a turnout, basically a turnout position. So like if I put my feet back together, that's a turned out position. And I stick them in third position, it's very difficult to knock me over. If I stand up, it's almost impossible for me to fall over. See, I just got off balance a bunch of times, but I couldn't fall over because I'm in third position. And what happens is when you're walking and you have a turnout, you're almost walking in what some people call an open third position, or what ballet dancers call a fourth position. And so what happens is that you walk in this like open third position or this fourth position, and you're very stable. And so I needed to get a turnout so that I didn't fall over. And so that's what we worked on in weeks 2 and 3, because when I did that videotape for you, you heard me screaming in the background of trying to do that foot point and just pointing my toe, trying to get feeling back in my toes, and then also doing the knee press where I took this MyPillow and squeezed it between. I'm not going to do it because I learned that was too much for me. And it was really wearing me out. I would just scream and then I'd be staring at the ceiling for days. So it didn't actually work for me, either of those. If you saw that video, it didn't actually work for me. So this is like my updated video of what both my OT is occupational therapy, and my physical therapist, what my physical therapist and my occupational therapist actually gave me in exchange, and how they actually worked for me. And that's what you do when you work with occupational therapists and physical therapists, is they give you exercises and then they adjust them based on how it ends up working for you. And so here's what my occupational therapist did for me. When she heard how it was going with the exercises my physical therapy had given me, and I'm going to show you that now. So I'm going to show you what I was given, and then really quickly, and then show you what I changed to give me a turnout. Once I did the exercise, the adjusted exercise, I instantaneously, like my feet started turning out, like almost instantaneously. Like they all of a sudden I started getting feeling on the outside of my legs, and my digestive system, which I've had a lot of trouble getting feeling back into and actually digesting food correctly, a lot of that has changed and come back, and my body's been doing a lot more digesting in a correct manner instead of me having to shove food through my actual digestive tract. I used to have to shove food to get it through. And I don't have to do that nearly as much anymore, and it's getting a lot better since I've done these activities. So I'll show you what I did. I'm going to take off my feet for this so you can actually see my toes, and you should be able to see it against this arch that I've done in another video for you. I'll try and link that other video up in that corner, the video where I talk about this arch that I sleep on at night. So what I do now, you saw the other video, see how my feet are kind of turned in, but you'll notice they're not They're not, if I lean back or whatever, see how my feet, if I go back to my natural position, do you see how they start to turn out? That's new. They've never ever done this. Like, this is a huge, 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 huge step forward. So I don't know if you guys can actually see that, but like, that is how my, woo, if you can actually see, like, there's an actual turnout in my legs there. And that's a big, big deal. You guys are seeing how white my legs are because I never, ever get to go out in the sun, ever. So my legs are actually turned out there, and that is a huge, huge difference. And this is the exercise they gave me for an actual turnout. Now, if you see, if I come in further, like if I actually start to come in closer, you see they start to roll in. So there is still an issue. Like there is still, I'm still working on it. I'm still getting feeling, but if I come out, it starts to roll out. So you can see there has been improvement. And this is what we did. Instead of doing this pillow and squeezing, which ended up being too much for me to do, what we're doing instead is we're taking my toes here. It's a very different exercise. I'd never heard of it. I take my toes and I press them against, that's what I do, is I put actual pressure onto my toes. It's a big, big change to actually put pressure on the toes. And so as I'm laying in bed during the day, I would just take my foot and I'd put pressure through my toes. And then I'd take my other foot and I'd put pressure through my toes. And that's all I did. Like that was the entire exercise, was pressure through my toes. So that was a huge exercise. And just starting to do that, putting pressure through my toes, started giving me a turnout and started getting me connection all through there. Now I should mention, like when I started doing that, it wasn't all like peaches and cream. Like, let me be very clear about that. Some things that I noticed with my toes, when I first started doing that, like I want to be really clear about this. Like my toes, let me see if I can hold on to something. Like my toes did not actually, when I started doing this, I didn't know it until I started doing the exercise, but my toes were so, from all of the pain, for whatever reason it was, when she told me to put pressure on it, when I'd walk and try to touch the ground and try to do what she said when I was actually walking, she'd be like, try and feel the ground. I learned that my toes, from pain or from not using the toes or from the concussion or whatever it was, from nerve damage or whatever, my toes were actually curled up and not actually hitting the floor when I walked. They weren't even touching. So it was a big exercise for me when I was walked to try and actually touch the ground. And I noticed I've only been dancing once since all of this. I've learned not to go out dancing anymore. That's been eliminated from my activities. It did its job, but it's now we're in a new phase of my therapy. And in that one time I went out dancing, I was like, oh, I really use the toes a lot in my dancing, right? I really use the toes a lot in my dancing. So I was like, I know they can actually be pressurized through, but that's when I'm up on my toes and pushing. So I was like, well, they can do the job. I just need to get them back down there. And so this whole like last 4 or 5, the 6 weeks since I've had anybody, or 4, it's been 4 weeks. Yeah, it's been 4 weeks. It's been 6 weeks since I knew about this. This is only my third week having anybody. So this is week 3. So, but I feel like it's been 6 weeks, but it hasn't been 6 weeks. Gosh, it feels like forever. This is what I'm not good with, is time. I'm like, I only had my 3rd OT visit today. And so, yeah, I'm getting pressure there. I can't believe I've changed so much. So I can actually do this in front of you, take my toes from way up and actually press them down. That's a new skill. And I've just learned to do that. So now I can actually put my foot on the ground. And oh gosh, it's actually taking effort. I can't really do it. Shoot, I can't actually press them in the ground yet. But the fact that I can get them to touch the ground. That's new. I can at least get them to touch the ground when my foot's flat. I can't press on the ground, but I can at least get them to touch the ground. That's new. And I didn't know. I had no idea. I was like, oh, I'm able to stand up. I see how they automatically go up in the air. I didn't even know that was a problem. I didn't even know. I had no idea that, oh, when I stand, I lift my toes into the air. I had no idea. And when I try to lower them, oh my God, my lower back just starts screaming. The pain in my lower back just started screaming, 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 screaming. All a nerve pain in my back. But I have to get them down there and I have to breathe through it because it's so important for balance. And I can get them down there, but I can't press through. So it's a skill that I have to get and I'm working on. But the more I do it, the more I'm able to have, if you notice, when I put it down, it's in a turnout. Do you see that? It's in an actual turnout where it used to land like this, which is why I'm able to do all these activities with you. Like get up here, put my foot up, put down, move on, and do all this. I'm able to adjust all these areas because I have this turnout and I'm much, much more stable. That's all new. Big changes. So the second activity that I was given, so that was my second week of occupational therapy. My third week of occupational therapy, one of the things that I gave her feedback on was, I gave her feedback on how the toes were working, and it was really, really big. But then I was like, by the way, I noticed that, like, if I needed to pick something up, let's say that it was actually jewelry. My husband was down on the ground and he was lifting up and he gave me a ring. There's a ring on there. It was actually my wedding rings. And he was lifting up to hand my ring because when I get home from an outing, I pass out on the ground. I'm down and I just take everything off because it all hurts, right? I strip, I throw it all down. All the jewelry just comes off on the ground, right? And stuff would get me covered all up and I just, everything. And then, you know, when I'm better and I'm like up a little bit, I'm like, can you hand me the stuff? Like, and he like hands it, he can help me pick things up. And he handed me like my rings. And I noticed, which is stuff that we're starting to figure out though, I noticed that when he went to hand me the ring, I reached down and I had to go, I'd never caught that I did this before, but I went 1, 2, oh, there it is. And then I picked it up. And now we're so used to it, and it had happened so gradually that I never recognized that in order to pick it up, I was like, where is it? Where is it? Oh my God, there it is. I missed it. I missed it 3 times. The first time I didn't get it, I aimed for it again. I overshot. And by then I was like, oh, it must be here. And I grabbed the ring. And the thing is I did it so quickly. I was like, that we've never noticed it. It happened so quickly. I'm like, oh, that just hurt my head to do all that motion to try and catch something on point. And that's what we noticed because I just did basically physical or occupational therapy with my right hand. So I told her about that and she's like, all right, so what we need to do is this activity. And she'd already shown me the activity, but I thought it was for one thing and it was actually for something else. So I had misunderstood the activity. And what the activity was this. She gave me this activity and she had said to get on your hands and knees and she said roll around. Well, I had been like, oh, yay, rolling around, and I got really into it. Now, I had learned this because they had said to do, one of my many, many doctors had said to try restorative yoga. And this is one of the positions in restorative yoga. Unfortunately, when I was doing restorative yoga for the lower back, it says to do a bunch of other poses besides this, besides getting on your hands and knees. And I couldn't do all those different poses. Couldn't do it. There was too many different poses. Hold on a minute. I'm going to try something. Just a minute. Hold on. There. Can you see me now? Can you see me now? I'm wearing a... There we go. Here I am. Well, now, yeah, I guess this was good because you could see my feet before. It would have blended before. Anyway, so she had me doing this, like rolling around, right? So these are the Chevelle blankets I talked about. All my blankets are the Chevelle. Turns out not all of them are made in America, it turns out, but these are the ones, at least they still are, I think, that these are the ones that are made in New York. The tag actually says it. I've never had a different blanket than the Ultra Velvet or whatever, or the Ultra Plush or whatever. I've never had any of their other blankets. But anyway, so she just said, go here, and I was like, oh, roll around, right? And then I was like, oh, this feels good. And so I started doing all this kind of stuff. And it felt really, really good after the procedure, right? I was like really getting into it. I was like, oh, this feels so good. I just started moving my butt all around. It was really great after the procedure. Now my procedure's worn off and like it's just like, oof. And it doesn't feel so great to do anymore. It hurts right in there. But great news is that I can really feel a lot more exactly where it hurts instead of it being this general pain in this area that I can't nail it down. But it turns out that the reason I was supposed to be doing that was to feel out my limbs, kind of like I was feeling out my toes, to put pressure on my limbs and to know where they were in space. And I didn't know that. And that's what she said on week 2 was like, on week 2, she was like, go ahead and feel where your use that exercise to feel out where your limbs are in space. And I was like, oh, and I got up to do it with her after showing her the card of 1, 2, and 3. She's like, so go ahead and feel where your hands are in space. And I was like, she's like, yeah, so your hips are here. Your hips are here. She's like, all right, you know where it is in space. And again, actually, I haven't really paid attention to where my hips are in space doing this. I still just stretched out. I'm kind of worried about what's going to happen because of what happened when she said, now pay attention to where your hands are in space. So what I did was, she's like, now look at your hands and say, there they are. Pay attention to where exactly both your arms are and put weight on them. Put weight on them and pay attention. Now, I can't really do it right now because the moment I did, my mind went shift to my arms. And the moment I did that, I said, okay. I watched her and I went, all right. And I shoved my mind into like both of my hands and I went, oh, boom. Like straight down, like into the ground. Like it just boom, wiped me out. And she was like, okay then. And I couldn't speak after that. I couldn't speak. I went into stuttering. My speech just went out. I couldn't see. I had to turn out the lights on half the room on her. Like I just was like, and I literally started, she could see, and she had to kind of shut down the session because I was so gone. I was shocked. And you know, I have had trouble signing my name. I've been doing initials. I haven't been able to hold a pen. And remember, I signed my name for you. I signed it. I said, this is my goal, right? So it's to like, let's work on my signature. Well, so I was like, okay, this is a problem. This is I would have thought because I do Twitter so often, I tweet all the time, I would have thought my arms are fine. I do Twitter so often, I would have thought my arms are fine. I use my hands more than my legs every day. I never would have thought my arms are a problem. I mean, I'm on my phone all the time. I'm on my phone. I never would have told you. And it wiped me out. And so the next time, until I did the card and I was like, oh shoot, I can't pick up a ring. Then, and it makes sense. Do you guys remember when I went to the actual, if you guys remember last year when I went out and I did the gas pump? And do you remember how long it took me on the pin pad to actually remember how to use a pin pad? And then I went to the DMV recently. I had to go to the DMV and they wanted a signature. And we have weird laws in our state. They have you go at the weirdest times for the weirdest things. And so they needed my signature for something and I didn't know how to work a pen pad again. Like you guys use them on a daily basis. I don't. And I got all these, she kept giving me instructions for a pin pad and I just didn't hear any of them. She's like, no, sign first. I was just so proud. I picked up the pen and hit okay. She's like, yeah, your signature first. And I was like, wow, I'm like a 100-year-old person who doesn't know how to work a pin pad. And then I realized, no, this is all that fine motor control that I'm working on. But the same day, I signed my name for the first time in like forever instead of doing funky initials, besides the big, like Katherine that I did for you on that paper. Until then, I've been doing, 2 initials. And that's it. I've been doing for my signature or somebody else has had to sign for me. And so I've been like, I was just like, look at that. I signed my name. And the way that has happened is, number one, I've cut back on all activities. I no longer go out dancing. I do a small activity every day. I either do the stretch machine, the True Fitness stretch. I do 2 to 5 minutes of that daily. Or I go out. I go out once to the doctor's, or I go out once grocery shopping. I stay in the car. I leave the house once. That's the activity for the day. Or I do the stretch machine once, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? On top of using the ladies' rooms or feeding the cats. Like, that's it. Those were activities that were always a part of my day. I try to feed the cats. I try to do the dry food once a day. I've been trying to add that in. I've been trying to add the cat food. I've been kind of successful 4 to 5 times a week ever since the first lumbar spine procedure. I've been about 4 or 5 times a week being successful about 1 scoop of cat food a day. That's been huge for my life. And I really don't want to eliminate that from my activities. I've been able to keep that in. And I just always add that to the trip to the ladies' room or whatever. And then I've just made all of it like activities, like just 1 activity a day. And then I do these other occupational therapies where I put my hand down and feel it out. Now, what was very interesting when I did the activities, she said, okay, well, that knocked you out too much. So what we'll do instead is let's adjust it. This is why they do adjustments. And she said, let's do the hand on just like you do your toes. She said, let's do the hand on and put pressure on your hand like one at a time. And what I found out is that it's not my left hand. It was my right hand only that would like knock me out. And so I was like, okay, I really need to work on my right hand. And working on my right hand, dizzy as it is, and I would go light at first, and now I can get to all 5, but I can only do it like once every 4 days. Like that's it, because it wipes out my right hemisphere so much. It makes me so dizzy, and I kind of lose vision in my right eye. But see, I'm able to talk now. I was able to put pressure on my right hand, and then I can keep talking. I was not able to do that 2 weeks ago. Like it's just been this nice gradual process. And then I was able to sign my name. I was able to sign my name at the DMV. But that's because I'm no longer leaving the house. Like just because I can't, it used to be on the weekends if I had my husband with me and I had an assistant, we go out as much as possible. We thought that was good for me. Like go out as much as I'm able. That's good for my body to get me out as much as if I'm able to walk during the week, go out as much. If I'm able to get on that stretch machine, get on the stretch machine. Do what I'm able. We're doing a whole different approach now. We're aiming for activity every day. And that means a small amount of activity every day. But it's led to my ability to sign my name. So that's been the whole thing. Like what it means is you guys have been watching me basically for 2 years, really working on my spine, getting the physical therapy done. Now we're getting the rest of the concussion, like the head. So my spine for this area getting taken care of. Now we're taking the head into consideration. So now we have a plan that treats both in this nice even way so that both are getting better on this trajectory up. So that my head, so that my physical spine can get better, it's being taken care of in a way that allows my brain to also get better. Because we were doing the spine, the way we were trying to do physical therapy for the spine, it was actually making my head get worse. Because we were like, go whenever I feel good, and it would overload my brain, and my brain was just going down, like down, 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 to the point where I could only barely do initials, and then I finally couldn't hold a pen. And then I was losing the ability to talk and hold a conversation. And I don't know if one, affected the other. I think I was just slowly going down on all hills, and we were just lucky to get my physical things, whatever. But I'm glad we caught it all. And now we have a nice thing that leads both up. So for physical therapy, that's the other. So we have the hand pressure. We got the pressure points on the things. And then for physical therapy, that's what we've adjusted to. We've now adjusted to moving on the back. We've learned that this pillow is too much. Like that's too much on me. So we've done things like this where I press down on, like when I go up on this, I do things like this. I realize I do things like this to get out of pain. And he was like, well, how does that not work your back? Why can't, when I do this and I do an exercise, a bridge where I'm not going to do it now, but I actually engage the lower back, I'll go into like an episode, right? But I can do this. And it feels really good. Well, the thing is I'm doing that without engaging the lower back. I'm so good with my center, and I'm such a good dancer. The fact is that everything right now being used, if you look at my feet, do you see how engaged they are? Like they are super, super engaged. The toes are super up. All the power right now is going through here, and all in my upper shoulders. That's where everything's upper shoulders to the calf muscles, and there ain't nothing going on down here. So I'm like, wee! And I'm loosening this up and giving it some free ride. I'm not using any muscles in here. I'm like, do you see I'm kind of shaking it out? I'm like, shake it out. So I'm kind of making it weightless. It feels really good. I'm like, shake it out weightless. He's like, you can't do that unless you have muscles there. And I'm like, what are you talking? And then I realized, I'm engaging everything. But if I start engaging it and start relaxing all of this and not engaging any of it and not engaging any of that and then start tensing this up, oh my God, it all starts freaking. So I've had to start changing my activities on the stretch machine to start using these muscles, which is why when you saw like Dream On was really different. You saw me doing things that really started using these back muscles. The stretches, I'm really starting to do these back muscles, and it's paid off. Like, oh boy, after Dream On, I had all these ice packs back here. For the first time, I've never had ice packs. The other thing I'm working on are things like these leg lifts for the iliacus, I learned that I don't have any iliacus development. You guys got to look up what the iliacus is. Basically, in this entire time, I've learned that in physical therapy, basically what I've learned in physical therapy is that this entire area, I developed this core muscles, I've been developing leg muscles, but my ability to stand up, I can't do this. I showed him, I was like, look, I can do this. I can't do this. Like, I start to go into shakes if I just stand. Well, I learned why that is. It turns out the dancing that I do has a lot of like turning like this, or a lot of like this or whatever. Like this is like all this stuff where I never actually stand up straight. And so like, you know, it's all these things where it adjusts. The hips are always like lean, you know, or they lean back or whatever. There's all these leans, and that always to make sure the iliacus doesn't have to be engaged. All these hip muscles never had to be engaged, so that when even the accidents came, those muscles were already kind of like deconditioned in a way. They weren't as strong as all the other muscles in my body. And the accident, the very last one, really slammed that area the most. That's the area that got hit the worst on my body, besides my head going through the window. And so it makes sense that those are super deconditioned. And I was like, oh, I told him that I was going to name my next, like I was like, if I ever have a kid, I'm naming my kid after you, because he helped me learn about the iliacus just by giving me that one exercise. When this didn't work, he gave me this exercise instead. And what was funny is that I was already lifting my leg to get like I was like, look what the second procedure did. I can move this. I wasn't able to do that at all, you guys. You guys know that. The new procedures for the right lumbar spine opened up my hips. I was never able to move my hips before. Remember how I was like, I really think I need hip injections or something? My hips were so pinned on the ground. There was no, and I said, I can do this now. Yay, I can do this. Well, you'd think that if I can do this, I can actually stand up. No, all these muscles in this entire pelvic rim are completely deconditioned. They're finally like out of atrophy, but they're completely deconditioned. And so now I'm literally like, when I did my first leg lift, he was like, don't do anything to this fatigue thing. And I didn't know. I was paying attention to my legs. I didn't know anything about these muscles right here that line the pelvic region. And oh my gosh, I went into my worst episode I've had in months. Just by doing 4 leg lifts, I have had to learn to do 1 leg lift, and I can only do 1 a week. That's it. And I don't go into an episode, which is great. And then I do the stretch machine, and I have to really, really, really stretch it out. Because what I don't want to do is I think I have the piriformis disorder. I think they have the piriformis. I think that's definitely dysfunctioning. I'm really learning that. I drove 22,000 miles once, and I remember I had to start doing sit baths, and it's everything. And then I had an accident right here, and I'm just like, and that's the one thing that isn't responding. I'm not able to do clamshells. I'm not able to do anything. So I think I have the piriformis disorder. I have something wrong with the piriformis for sure on both sides. That one I'm definitely worried about because it's not responding. I'm not able to get it to do anything, and it provides most of the pain most days. Like when I sit, most of the pain. That's good to be aware of. Like I said, like I'm aware of every single muscle, like they're my friends in my butt. Like when we massage it out, I'm like, I'm aware of where every muscle is. Well, that's what happens with piriformis is the muscles start separating. I can feel them individually, like they're my little friends. I was like, I know we should these. Oh, the piriformis separates out with this. I'm like, oh shoot. And actually all the massage therapists, everyone who's ever worked on this area have all been like, you've got a big problem. Even the first physical therapist was like, your piriformis is a big issue. Like that was the first thing they unlocked. And so anyway, I'm just working on all of these, buttocks and rim area. And I want to do my best to actually, if I can, build these muscles up instead of actually get any kind of injections. I want to do as very few procedures as possible. I know that you can do injections into muscles and like get steroid and loosen them up. I don't know. I'm going to leave it all up to my doctors because they've been such a great team. But the biggest thing is they know it's going to be slow going, but I'm just like, look, I thought it would be a year before I could sign my signature. And I'm like, look at where I am. You know what I mean? Hips and these kind of things, deconditioning. It took me a year to be able to, you guys have seen how long it took me to get out of atrophy. So it's going to take me a very long time to get out of deconditioning. The point is see, I can't even sit up anymore. The point is that I know now, like, I can't sit up and I'm like, shoot, I'm going to have to get off. I'm going to start going in an episode if I keep talking because I moved that too much. The point is that I'm aware of it now. I am aware that those are the muscles that need to be worked. I'm aware that that's the reason that I'm not able to stand up on my own for long periods of time. Uh-oh, the left foot is going into an episode. My time to go. Donate down below if you'd like. Donate down below, $1 a month, please. And subscribe if you'd like to subscribe. And videos on the left or the right, whatever, if I remember. And thank you guys so much for being patient with my channel. Because as I do all of these, it really puts my brain into this like funk where I'm just kind of staring at the ceiling. It's so funny. My occupational therapist said, so now that you're not going out, she's like, so now that you're doing better, like, and all of a sudden, are you finding, like, is the depression lifting? And I was like, no, it's getting much, much worse. And she's like, what? And I was like, I wanted to go to Essex this weekend. Like, that was what I had planned for Thanksgiving was Essex. I was like, I wanted to drive like the 8 hours up and like go to Essex. I was like, that's where I wanted to go. I was looking forward to it. And instead I stayed in and bounced in my living room. Like, that's what I did. And I was like, but I know it was a luxury decision. And I know that the payoff is that, you know, I ended up signing my autograph at the DMV. Like, I'm aware of that. Like, I'm aware that it's paying off, like, these decisions. But, you know, of course it's depressing, like, sitting in your house. And I'm not able to tweet as much. Like, I find this great research and I'm not able to tweet. Like, I'm like, oh, great, but my brain doesn't work and I'm not able to operate the phone. Like, you know, and so it's kind of frustrating. So, but I'm thankful that you guys are patient with me. And now my entire lower half is like trembling and I'm going to have to fudge it. Now my right side's going, and I have to get up there to you. See, I'm so used to it. I'm sure you guys aren't scared. You've seen enough of my episodes now to know that it's just like, I don't know. I'm so used to these that I'm like, oh, another episode. I know why it happened. It's so much better knowing why episodes happen that they're just not scary to me. But of course, I'm like, wait, it's my brain. It's bad. Stop it. Like, So, all right. I am coming. It's also painful to move during an episode. So I'm like, I would much rather just not move, but I need to do it. Okay. Oh, I hope this helps somebody. I hope this was worth it to go into another episode on you during a freaking taping. Okay. I love you guys so much. Don't worry. It'll be over in a much shorter amount of time because I really am going to be fine. So I love you guys so much. So see, the hand isn't nearly as bad. See, it hasn't reached up that far. See, it's so, we understand. See, now I know why it's only my legs because I just worked my legs. This is so much better. We understand these things now. So, shoot, talk too long. Now it's my hands. Dang it, bad girl. Don't be me. Don't do as I do as I say. Love you. Bye.